Hello everyone, this is Husky here, and this game is about 15 seconds in just because for some reason the beginning of the replay was all buggy for me. So I just skipped a little bit, but I promise you haven't missed any of the action. This is going to be game number 2 between Jaxi spawning down in the bottom right side. He is going to be the red Zerg. He is up 1-0 versus his very well-known and mannered player Duckload Raw, our blue Protoss. The map is going to be Tal'Darim Altar. I can never figure out if it's Tal'Darim Altar or Tal'Darim Altar, which sounds kind of like a sort of like coffee you would get from Starbucks or something like that. But anyways, looks like Whitera is going to be expanding here. And after that last game, man, you got to watch out for Jaxi. His timing was almost spot on. Able to buy just enough time for those infestors to get out using that fungal growth and just crushing that army. Whitera was never able to recover. But that's kind of how Protoss is. If you're not able to save your gas-heavy units, I mean, you can afford usually sacrificing zealots. But if you're losing all your stalkers and immortals and things like that, that is not a comfortable position, because you got to remember that Protoss units are extremely costly. They cost a lot of minerals, a lot of gas, but if you can keep them alive and together, that is where they really shine. That's where they start to pay for themselves. So losing those stalkers meant he lost a lot of gas, which meant he did not have the gas he needed in time to get out the higher tier units that he would want. So Jaxi, look out for him, man. He definitely has the ability to take this 2-0. He is going to be grabbing his expansion before spawning pool. I really, really like this out of him just because on this map, very likely for a Protoss to fast expand. He did force the Forge first just based on scouting patterns alone. That's how StarCraft has always been, though. StarCraft 1, if you scouted the wrong way, you had to get that Forge out first just because, I mean, if you got 6-pooled or something, you need to try and be prepared for it. So now Whitera will go ahead and get his Nexus. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a Gateway before Cannon, just because a Cannon at this point is going to be virtually worthless, as it's going to take a long time for the spawning pool to finish. And the Nexus, what is Whitera doing here? Is he still making probes? Yeah, he decides not to cut probes, and oh no, I think he's supply blocked right here, so he will be forced to get this Nexus. And the pylon, yeah, the timing of this just seems a little bit weird. Where is this pylon? Oh, it's down here. He may be attempting to cannon rush. I was wondering what was going on. I was like, this Nexus is taking an awkward amount of time to get out. It's because he's trying to force a response from our Zerg player to hold off this cannon rush, which may or may not actually happen. I don't think it will happen, as there will be Zerglings on the field soon. And yeah, you can see that Jaxi's not going to fall for this fake cannon rush. Although, will Whitera get it off? He may try to actually plant a cannon. I don't think that would be successful. It does look like Whitera, though, will be able to kill a drone if he micros perfectly, but it looks like Jaxi going to micro a little bit better there. So it does look like Whitera now has his cannon on the way. He does have his gateway, and the timing of this, I mean, Whitera's Nexus is going to be delayed, and look, this pylon's going to go down as well, which will supply block Whitera, unless his Nexus can finish in time, which I don't think it will. And the start to this game is really not what Whitera would expect. I mean, this is not a standard start versus a Zerg player. This is going to make you uneasy, because if there's a hidden Roach Warren or something like that, it could kill you off extremely early before you can get on your feet. Especially with this cannon placement, the Roaches can run just right here, blasted away nearly immediately. Also, Zergling run by is always a potential threat. That's why he's going to try and finish off this wall in. And there's the Zerglings right there. They're seeing exactly what's going on. So Whitera, I definitely don't want to say he made any huge blunders, but the pacing of this is just seeming to be a little bit off. But I mean, he's Whitera, and maybe he has some grand master plan that is way beyond my simple human brain, while he is, you know, a robot. So we'll see exactly what he follows this up with. And he should have his Zealots to have for defense. He does have his Zealot rallied over here, and that's just to the watchtower. He's going to try and grab that one right there, because he knows that most Zerg players, especially when you're playing at the pro level like this, are not going to have a lot of Zerglings, because a top tier Zerg player is either going to try and do an early timing, which Whitera has already kind of taken off the to-do list, or the possible to-do list, where the Zerg player most likely isn't going to do that. So if you're playing on ladder and you send out this Zealot, chances are it'll get taken out. But against a player like Jaxi, who obviously knows the metagame very well, he's going to try and just squeeze out as many drones as possible, because it's going to be a lot easier to do damage with money by making a lot of units, rather than just getting out a couple extra Zerglings to kill off maybe a Zealot. You know, you may or may not. So that's kind of the difference I've noticed between top players and, you know, kind of ladder players that are not in the top 200, is that things like that, I mean, that they don't think that far ahead, so they may make a couple of Zerglings, and yes, they may get lucky, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, the more games you play, the less and less lucky you're going to start getting, just because, well, you're going against better and better players. Now, we do have a Stargate. Is it going to be a Void Ray? I'm hoping it's going to be a Void Ray, The Stargate is finished, and it is going to be Void Ray. I can't, though, sing the song until I see more than one Void Ray, just because a single Void Ray, man, that is not what my song is about. It is about multiple Void Rays, and we'll see if it's going to work. He's now adding on these 2 gateways. This is such a standard build from Whitera. The timing of it, again, is just a little bit behind, but if you want to learn a standard Protoss opener versus Zerg, we are watching one right now. The Void Ray attempts to do some damage, mixed in with a couple of Phoenix, lifting up the Queens. It's just going to try and slow down that drone production as much as possible. And you can see that the injection timing has been perfect from Jaxi so far. And there we go. I say that as his Queen runs away right when she needs to inject the larva. But very little energy on these Queens. Always a crucial thing to be on top of that inject larva, because if you miss one inject cycle, then, I mean, that's a lot of units that you're never going to be able to get back, no matter how hard you spam that inject larva button. Now, the Void Ray is moving out. He may get an Overlord kill here, which would be pretty crucial. There's a second Overlord by the base, and is he going to go for it? Nice Queen positioning here. A third Queen shows up, locks this down. So Whitera not going to have much luck, although he may have some luck if he positions his Void Ray a little bit better, which is taking a lot of damage from these Queens. And at this point, though, the Void Ray has taken so much damage that's not going to be able to do it. He may lose this Void Ray if Whitera's not careful, and there it goes. Wow. Losing that first Void Ray is the most uncomfortable thing for a Protoss player in this situation, because your Void Ray is there to try and get the map control, try and force the Zerg player to make additional Queens, try and force him to have to tech up the Hydralisk in, which is already there, but really try and make him overreact, get some Spore Crawlers, lose some drones. But at this point, I mean, he didn't really do anything with that Void Ray. He lost it very early, only killed a drone or two. This Zergling is going to spot exactly what's going on here. He does see the cannon, so he knows that Whitera wants to take this out immediately, and almost taking some damage on that Zealot through the shields, because that Zergling thought he could take him down. Whitera will be able to expand off of this right now if he wants to, which it's going to be tough. Oh, another Void Ray, but it's still a singular Void Ray, and he is going to go Overlord hunting here, which if he can kill this Overlord, this one, and this one, if he has his map hacks turned on, that will start to get extremely annoying, which right now I believe this Overlord has been spotted. Whitera decides to let it live, but killing Overlords is exactly what is strong about this airplay, is that, I mean, it supply blocks the Zerg, it's more larvae used for Overlords, and it's so frustrating to do with. Although a Zerg player, it's kind of built into his build where he is expecting to lose some Overlords. So Whitera right now is mostly using these, it seems, to lock down creep tumors, but pretty soon he is going to be going up against a lot of Hydras. There is only one Phoenix on the field used for scouting, and this Void Ray, if he's not watching himself, which he currently is, going to be able to get away. But the Hydras are, oh, no, they're not going to be able to break through the shields. But Whitera, man, he has not been able to do the damage he needs. The momentum this entire game has not been in his favor. And if Jaxi, you know, doesn't slip at all on his macro and unit composition, he should be okay. Now, one problem that Jaxi can find himself in, apparently he's picking up a drone just to be a pest and prevent the mining of the gas there a little bit. But really, the only thing Jaxi has to worry about here is the potential for Colossus, because Hydralisk, Roach, not the best against Colossus with force fields that Whitera can deliver. Just because, I mean, those units are ground units, they clump up very easily, and they take a lot of damage from those Colossus. So Roach Hydra is a build that you don't see nearly as much unless you can find a really sick timing. I've seen Idra utilize a timing where he makes a creep highway all the way to his opponent's base right when the Hydras kick in, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone hold that off. Not saying that, you know, it's unholdable, but it is an extremely effective build. We do have Thermal Lance plus 2 attack, Colossus on the way. But you got to remember that Jaxi does have those Infestors on the way. The difference, though, between this game and last game is that Whitera is going to be able to get out his Colossus before losing his army to the Infestors. And if you can get the Colossus out... Oh, there goes the Void Ray. Goodbye, Void Ray. Those are something you really want to keep alive if possible. Because, especially if they counterattack with Zerglings or something, you can just leave them back there for defense. Really good against Roaches as well. And supplies are 116 to 156. How much of that is Roach, though? Not as much as you might think, 71 drones to 74 probes. So Whitera has been extremely heavy on the production front as far as his economy goes. And so the longer this game goes on, he's actually going to be in a much better spot than the supply counts may show. As, again, Hydra's not the best. They do have +1 attack. We do have the Tunneling Claws on the way for the Roaches. And, yep, 14 more Roaches on the way. So our Zerg player will be maxed out fairly soon. But he's going at unit composition I honestly feel is not the best against what Whitera has. Now, it will come down to the fungal growth. It will come down to the neuroparasite. And this is several infestors. There's more infestors on the way, but Jaxi is going to have to attack pretty soon. He's at 198 supply. He's literally just giving Whitera more and more time to make up this army. Whitera once again makes a Void Ray rather than making multiple Void Rays, depriving me of the enjoyment of singing my song from Nerd Alert. Now we do have +2 attack just finishing. High Templar morphing in right now, but Jaxi, every second that goes by, he's just allowing Whitera's army to get more and more powerful. So he is going to have to do something here. In the meantime, he is going to have to tech up towards Hive as well, or at least work on upgrades. He does have +2 attack on the way, and you can see he is going to move out right when he's maxed out. Can he cause some pain here? I'm not sure if he's going to be able to lock down this entrance, because this is a nice tight wall in, and this is what I'm talking about. Colossus pretty good at the positioning is there, and at this point, Jaxi is either going to have to Nidus, drop, or attack this when there's no force fields that are an imminent threat. But Whitera, I mean, he's playing this out very smart. It would be unwise for him to move out until he gets out a couple more units. That's exactly what he did. I know the way I worded that was silly, but he was waiting for that Colossus and another wave of Stalkers before moving out. And he is going to pick out some of the units here. He does catch the Infestors completely out of position. Fungal Growth has been used, but Feedback has been used quicker. But this is a lot of Roaches marching directly into this army. Whitera crumbling under the pressure. Is he going to be able to save this army at all, though? It looks like the Colossus not able to do the damage they wanted to. May be able to save one Colossus, but that is it. But if he puts it on the high ground, it will do a lot of damage. Another Void Ray is on the field, so these units are pretty good against the Roaches. But, I mean, at this point, there's just no units remaining for Whitera, even losing that Archon, which that really sucks. Now, during that, what are you Hydralisks doing? They were burrowing and unburrowing like crazy. The Roaches will regenerate their HP, but it does look like Jaxi able to take a 4th base. Whitera looking to take his 4th base as well. And you got to remember, he does have a lot of minerals. Very low on gas. So we can warp in some Zealots. They do not have charge, and he is working on Void Rays. I really like this unit composition out of Whitera, but I mean, don't get me wrong, our Zerg player playing very smart. He is going to be focusing down this expansion as well, forcing the cancel on all of that. One random cannon back here will get taken out as well. He is powered from the high ground, so that should do at least a little bit of damage. But Whitera does have to sacrifice that positioning as well as that expansion. And do we have Hive Tech? Yes, we do. We have a Greater Spire just now beginning. Infestation Pit has done all of its upgrades, so these Infestors about as terrifying as they get. And +2 attack nearly done, but +3 for Whitera is nearly done. That's something he's been very effective at so far in these games, is getting out those attack upgrades, which make your Colossus so good. Instead of doing 19 times 2, it is going to do much more, because you got to remember it multiplies it by 2. So if you have Colossus, especially splash damage with Archons, look at that, 43 damage versus biological. Oh my god, that's terrifying. Especially against Zerg, you want to get attack upgrades if possible, and that's exactly what he's doing. The 3rd upgrade just now finishing, so Whitera is going to be at the 21 times 2 damage per shot. Yikes. But his supply is still way behind, but you gotta remember, this is all Roach for the most part, so if Whitera can hold this somehow, then he will be okay. Can the Sentry get the force fields down? He does! The Roaches can still stream in here, though, albeit barely, and it looks like this may be a knockout punch if he can do the damage he needs to, but the Zealots with the +3 attack, holding on and killing off all of these Roaches. Whitera's Colossus positioning was sick good. 23 kills on that Colossus and 11 on the other one, and now he has these Void Rays in here. Does he have multiple Void Rays? No, he still only has one. Oh no, he does have 2, so Void Rays, gotta mess up his Void Rays. And unfortunately for Jaxi, he may have thrown away way too many units in that engagement. So Whitera at this point can either take a 4th base, or he can try to win, which he may be doing a little bit of both right here. I really like this from Jaxi, though. I believe every expansion, except for the one with the rocks, has an Overlord spewing creep, and that's really good for good on him. I really got to hand it to him, as a lot of Zerg players forget to do that because a Protoss hidden expansion can be easily locked down. Now, we do have the Corruptors on the field. Now, you may be looking at this amount of Corruptors being like, whoa, that's a lot of Corruptors, but he does have a Greater Spire, and that does mean Broodlords, as well as the there's a surprising amount of air stuff. Oh, did we just kill? Was that a Zergling? I hope that was a Zergling, rather than part of his own army. Does look like the Zergling's going to peek in here, see exactly what's going on. +3 attack, so powerful, and that it does allow him to start that +1 armor. And at this point, this is the position that a Zerg player hates to be in, where the Protoss is loose on the map, and there's not a lot he can do about it. So what he's trying to do right here, get out a couple of Broodlords, get enough Corruptors to kill this army, because right now, I mean, look at this unit composition. If the Zerg player can knock out all of this right here, then he just has to deal with gateway units, and his army is much better suited to do that, especially since those zealots do not have that charge. There's no Psystorm on the field. Here comes the attack right now. Is this going to be enough Corruptors, though? They do not have +1 attack, but it will be able to lock down the Colossus, it looks like. But the ground army is melting away from the Colossus, although if all these Colossus go down, which it looks like they might, they are not focus firing, though. And there they go. They're going to start go ahead and doing that. Now he left the, oh no, he left the Corruptors over that army, which is going to allow one Colossus to survive. A huge mistake by Jaxi in that battle, not microing that well enough, as he wanted to use those Corruptors for Broodlords rather than, you know, losing them all after killing the Colossus. So if our Zerg player can muster up enough money, he will be able to start making some Broodlords, but Blink is going to be done at any moment. Psystorm as well, and it looks like these roaches are going to try and intercept this, but so much damage from this one remaining Colossus, showing you how important it is to kill the Colossus from a Protoss. As it does get Neural Parasite, though, so Splash Damage is going to be turned against Duckload Raw, and doing a lot of damage. He's trying to kill the Infestor. He is going to get it, thus saving his Colossus, allowing it to roast away this army. And the income up, not sure why he backed out there. I felt like he could have locked that down. He does now have +2 attack, +1 armor. Income is fairly even for both players, but that's because the Zerg player has not made any drones at this expansion quite yet. He really needs to get these expansions up and running. But Whitera, once again, has a lot of minerals, and he can just use those on Zealots. If he did get the Zealot charge, that would be ideal. But for now, he can just make out as many Zealots as he wants. It looks like he's using the majority of his gas on Stalkers, and could get a couple of High Templar in here as well. But our Zerg player, which is uncommon for Zerg, does have an excess amount of gas. And Jaxi, this is going to be, oh no, this is a big mistake moving out here, as this is going to get locked down. He was way out of position without having the amount of units he needs. You can see he has 7 Infestors on the way. Really needs to wait for those. Whitera has definitely got the momentum back into his favor. Blinking over here. Is there an Observer here to spot these? Nope. Yes, now there is. The Observer flies right over it, and he's going to get a couple more free kills here. Jaxi's trying to play cute, but it's going to end up costing him a lot of his units if he's not careful. Which right now, I mean, like, where are these roaches going? They have nowhere to run. At some point, they're going to have to either turn around and fight, or just get chased around. They have nowhere to run, especially if Whitera just moves his units over here. I mean, these roaches have nowhere to go. And Whitera, there we go. He's going to swing around and try and take those out. He could take out this expansion as well. Now, Jaxi was able to get his reinforcements as far as drones go to this expansion. But there he goes, transferring those drones over right now. But, I mean, this still is anyone's game. But when you're going up against 3 attack, 1 armor Whitera with Blink Micro, yeah, that's not going to be a good spot. Now, it could potentially counterattack here by our Zerg player. This would be huge, but he will be going up against a Colossus, as well as more Void Rays on the field to defend. And it looks like the expansion over here is what Whitera wants to take out. Look at what Whitera is doing, though. He has his army completely split up in multiple directions. He has some for defense in his main base, his expansion, as well as attacking here. So if this attack by our Zerg player is not enough to do at least lock down this expansion, then this is going to be it for the Zerg player. It does look like a lot of roaches are here, though. Could fungal growth on the drones as well. And there's no anti-hero air to kill this Void Ray, which is just roasting away, blasting, lightsabering down these Infestors. Does finally get it taken out there. And it does look like this expansion will go down. But at the same time, the Whitera has now pushed down. He's taken out the 2 right side expansions, forcing the drones to transfer away. But there's really nowhere for them to even mine right now. Look at this. No mineral patches remaining. Whitera is going to be losing this expansion, but you can see desperation Zerglings being made by our Zerg player as he is quickly losing all of his production capability. And the Whitera is going to be knocking at his front door. Even killing Overlords right now is probably delaying the inevitable, as our Zerg player now wasn't even able to kill the Nexus. Whitera able to defend there. And I think that's going to be it, as Whitera now is at the front door. The momentum in this game was heavily favoring the Zerg player. He is going to end up leaving this game, as Whitera was able to just get, I feel, again, like the very beginning, there was no momentum for Whitera. But once he started holding off perfectly, I mean, I feel like Jaxi knows exactly what his problems were. When he was attacking here, he was just throwing that Roach Hydra into a Protoss ball, which has been proven time and time again to not be effective unless there's perfect Corruptor support and you're able to get surrounded. But when you're running into a choke like this, it's not good. What you really have to do is start either Night Swarming or dropping, doing multi-pronged attacks, because, I mean, in this situation, Whitera forced his opponent to have to attack right here. But when you just leave a big ball of Protoss right here, the Zerg player is not going to be able to get in there. And never ended up losing these Warp Gates at all. So Whitera really outplaying the Zerg player in this game. But Jaxi is showing us he can take this game to the late game. 26 minutes. We had Hive Tech. And also, another major mistake by our Zerg player was leaving those corruptors out above this army, and they just all died. So I don't think he got a single broodlord that game, even though he did have the Greater Spire the entire time. So anyways, this is all tied up. We are going to go ahead and go on to game number 3, the deciding game on if Whitera is going to advance or not. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been the GSPA, and I'll see you guys next time.